Warning, this episode contains graphic language, creepy elven children, murderous trees, even more sword talk, and as always, teen angst. Also, there'll be spoilers for chapters 49 through 53 of Brisingr, book 3 of the Inherent Cycle by Christopher Paolini. Listen at your own risk.
Is this a podcast, or is this just fantasy? We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. So join us if you want to nerd out. Time to start the podcast and see. Anyway, here's the show.
Hello, readers. I'm Dane Patterson, the host who has also picked a fight with a tree, but that Birch had it coming.
And I'm Jacqui Lanier, and is this a podcast or is this just fantasy? The podcast where the trees are sentient, but they're also very sassy for some reason. Best to step light around those roots.
Just leave it be, if you will. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, there's a link in the show notes. If you can't or just don't want to, we totally understand and just ask that you please rate us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, and as always, visit us at isthisjustfantasypod.com, our website that houses the full archive of video episodes and the very fun hats, shirts, sweatshirts, stickers, tumblers, long list.
It's a lot of stuff.
We sell all that stuff. It has our very cool logo on it. We also post scheduling updates and clips from the show on social media. So you can find us at Just Fantasy Pod on Instagram or Is This Just Fantasy Pod on TikTok.
Very cool.
Yes.
It's all cool stuff.
Yes. And as we head into the end of this season, I think it's very salient to remind people that is where you will find notes on when we're going to post and start the next season, because we're getting into our penultimate episode.
Oh, it's already there.
It's happening.
We're doing it.
Yes. So I know we're finally going to get some big payoff in this episode's chapters, but before we get there, I want to do...
be fire.
Yes.
Just hit you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. That's for all you deep cut nerds who got that right away.
The title of the book.
It's the title of the book,
Deep
everybody.
Cuts.
Deep Cuts.
Yes, before we get to the fire payoff, I want to do the quickest of recaps, maybe my fastest ever,
Okay.
of what we covered in our last Dadstravaganza, Dane.
I love that extravaganza.
That's basically the series. So we started the last set of chapters on a violent quickie with Roran. Stronghammer gets promoted and leads his new integrated company on a successful raid, but he has to intervene when one of the Urgles in his unit does a bit of light torture. Yarbog, this guy, challenges Roran for command, and a good old-fashioned loincloth wrestling match will settle the matter. After a grueling, bear-greased contest, Roran is the victor in the octagon when Yarbog submits. And we spent the rest of the episode dropping bomb after bomb, basically, on Eragon. He arrives in Elismira with Saphira exhausted, but apparently immediately ready to get messy with Oramus and Glader. Eragon comes in hot, accusing Oramus of withholding information, and as the insults fly, Saphira finally intervenes to push Oramus to reveal the big secret. So Oramus explains that Murtagh is actually Eragon's half-brother.
No.
What? And that Eragon's father is actually Brom.
No.
What? So Yoga Daddy guides Eragon through some breathing exercises to center his chi before getting into the whole sordid tale. He reveals that Brom met Selena while spying on Morzan and turned her into a double agent after they fell in love. He lays out the full timeline of their affair, Murtagh's birth, Eragon's birth, and Saphira's egg theft, emphasizing Brom's steadfast focus on keeping Eragon safe. They have a light chat about the complexity of love, sacrifice, and Brom's legacy, but they end on a positive note, with Oramus serving some cheesy soup and reflecting on Eragon's emotional growth in the face of this revelation. And once Eragon has just a bare minute to process, Christopher Paolini goes about his business, ripping all of our hearts out.
Yes.
Saphira plays Eragon the tape that Brom left to explain things, and it's just beautiful. He says he's proud to be Eragon's dad, emphasizing the importance of protecting all of your loved ones, of resisting Galbatorix, and of using their wizardy wiles in battle. I'm a wreck. Eragon's a wreck. Brom is dead, and we're just left to watch Eragon and Saphira find what comfort they can with each other, while Oramus just brings more comfort food and bombshells.
I love that guy.
Yes, he's got it all. He defers to Glader to explain the secret behind Galen Murtag's strength, and we find out about dragons Eldunari, their heart of hearts. We wrapped up last time with a crash course on them, and if you want to know why they're the key to winning this war, pause this, skip back one episode, and listen to Dane's whole freaking deep dive about Eldunari. And that, friends, is how you do clickbait in a podcast. You're welcome.
I love talking to the people who are listening to the podcast and go back to the other podcast.
Yes, go back. Listen again.
Listen again twice.
If you missed it, if you need me to recap it, go back and listen. It was great. We had fun. So, Dane, are you finally ready to get this motherfucking sword?
Yeah, there's been a lot of build up to this sword.
A bit, yes.
I mean, we have heard about the need for one for way too long.
To the point that at this current juncture, I personally, Jacqui Lanier, need a sword. I need one. I need to have it.
Well, I'm loving these like pre-episode fire chats, like fireside chats, fire chats.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Brisingr on the mind, everybody.
I was going to say theme appropriate. He's on it. That's a deep cut.
We're on fire. But I want to have like 2 more questions about swords.
Okay.
Before we get to a sword.
Yes.
So since we've been going on about swords so much, since we've had to hear Eragon talk about it so much, I imagine that you and I have been thinking about swords.
Yes.
That's all I'm thinking about.
Yes. I too am thinking very detailed.
I'm sure our listeners
about swords
are also only listening about swords. Or only thinking about swords. So I wanted to know if you had to create a sword. You're a writer now. Mm-hmm. You've graduated.
Thank you.
Yes, you're graduated.
Did I get straight A's? What was my GPA?
Almost. There was that one class.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's
probably
all right.
Sword maintenance 101.
Yeah, it was sword maintenance. You just didn't do well.
That seems right.
But it's all right. You know, you got by the sliver. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that. Anyway, I want to do a complete rundown of your sword.
Okay.
Describe it. I want all the deets. Go for it.
Ooh. Yes, famously, I know a lot about sword facts.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, what would this look like? What's your vibe?
Yes. I think I'm going, like, iridescent.
Ooh.
Yes, kind of like a white base with, like, rainbow kind of pearlescence to it.
Okay.
Yes. So not like, you know, that black iridescence with the rainbow, like, oil slick.
Yeah.
The light version of
like
that.
Pink one, almost.
Yes,
Yeah.
Precisely. So I think I'm going that. I think I want, like, more of a katana style thinner sword.
Okay.
Yes, elongated.
Yeah.
I think I could do like a really nice opal setting in the hilt.
Okay, opals in the hilt.
Yes, I think it goes with that whole
What about the like
iridescence vibe.
cross guard? Is that like special? Is that like figures, or that's the thing that comes around to guard your hand? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't pass sword maintenance 101.
No. And I did not give any previous thought to the cross guard of my sword. Not something.
Is it engraved with anything? Is this like for my mother, like down the blade or anything?
Well, yeah, I think I'd probably definitely engrave it with my house words. Famously, it was on sale. Or if some is good, more is better.
Perfect. It has like a tassel, but it's actually just a tag.
Yes. Showing the deep discount I got on this sword. It's a designer sword, but like I got it for a super reasonable price.
So your crossguard has like a Gucci like symbol on it.
Gucci, Louis, Fendi, Prada. That's my sword.
Awesome. It's that print on the like the leather for the handle.
You know, I don't actually like a bunch of logo print. I think it's a little gaudy for me. How about your sword, Dane?
I'm thinking I'm an Urkel. So I'm thinking I'm like 10 feet tall.
Are we trading in the nail-studded bat, or are you carrying both?
So I've thought a lot about this. I think I'm going huge freaking mace. So like it's just a mace. It's not a sword at all. I don't have a sword. And all the spikes are like super spiky. The spikes are super spiky.
Amazing.
Yeah, of this special, meteor thing.
Oh, well, that totally makes sense. I feel like Eragon got, twice as fast and strong with the rider bond.
Yeah.
If you take a cull and go twice as fast and strong, there's no sword that'll work. We have heard so much about how physically that's a problem.
Right.
So I love that choice. What color is this mace? What kind of metal is it made
I think it's
out
just
of?
black. It's just black.
Yes.
And
Is it engraved with anything?
yes, I think it has red runes
Yes.
that glow on the head of the mace.
Hell yeah.
In between the spikes.
Hell yeah. What do they say?
They're like they're a Creed song. It's just all the lyrics to 6 Feet from the Edge.
That feels
yeah.
so right.
But it's in Urgle, so no one knows.
Except for Angela.
Except for Angela.
Yeah. Angela's here.
Oh, yeah, she's been there the whole time. Yeah, that's what I think.
I love that.
Yeah, and then I think it's just a raw brown leather, the handle. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just wrapped in like very...
Be a man.
Yeah, be a man.
I love it. Many leather-bound things, many leather-bound artifacts.
Yeah, but since we've done this, we're essentially writers now. I need to know.
Okay.
You're an elf with a bow.
Yes.
You have an iridescent white, like
Hell
Gucci
yeah.
sword. What about your dragon? Like, what color is your dragon? What does it look like? Like, give me the deets.
Ooh, I think also, right, famously, the dragons are supposed to match the swords.
Right.
Which... also right on brand. I think I'm going like white iridescence, like pearlescent dragon. Hell yeah.
That's so cool.
Hell yeah.
All right. Yeah. Then mine would be black. I have a black dragon.
Yeah, that makes
Just
sense.
black on black on black.
But though, is it that like black kind of ombre effect with like a little touch of like that oxblood red color?
Ooh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but I would say I want my dragon to be a little bit more squat. And like wide.
Okay.
I kind of want like a chubby dragon. Like when you see him, you're like, I don't know if that guy can fly too quick, but I want him to be a big boy.
Wasn't that something Saphira thought about Thorn and Murtagh?
A
Like
little
she's
bit.
so lithe and she's so like fast and nimble in the air. That's what's making her like an
Yeah.
extra talented flyer. And like Thorn is more like Glader. They're kind of they're thick boys.
Yeah, I want like the bulldog effect. Like his
Yes.
shoulders are just a little too big.
Hell
Everyone's
yeah.
like, what is wrong with that dragon a bit?
Yes, you want the ghost of dragons. You
Yes.
want it to look like your dog, but
Yes.
a dragon.
Yes. And
Hell
then
yeah.
instead of the horns up top, I just want one giant, like a rhino horn on my dragon.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that's all I got. We got to move on.
Yes.
I think everyone's like, could you guys get to the book, please?
I need to get to the swords.
Well, anyway, we've been waiting long enough. Chapter 49, Hands of a Warrior. We start this penultimate episode still with Ormus on the same day as when they tried to work remotely 2 episodes ago.
Yes, that is just bonkers.
Is it the longest day ever, you think?
It's hard to say. Do you think like by page and chapter count it's longer than the day Eragon ran errands? Definitely more happened.
I think more happened. I
But
don't know.
never forget Sunday reset. By our episode count, definitely longer.
I think it's definitely longer for
Yes.
that. Yeah, I don't know. But I guess we could have counted, but I'm
No,
not going back.
that's crazy.
This book starts where we left off. This chapter starts. I'm going to start that over. This chapter starts where we left off with Eragon deep in his salad, just nibbling a strawberry with his yoga teacher. And I don't know. Are we trying to get back to the whole vegan propaganda here? Do we think Eragon eats meat now? Does he tell Ormus he eats meat now?
He definitely does not tell Ormus, like 1,000,000,000%.
Okay,
It's
that-
just like Arya.
Right. That's not important, though. Ormus and Eragon discuss what he needs to learn before he heads out and when exactly he's going to go. Eragon brings up Angela because, oh, yeah, Angela's here. And Ormus says that she sounds like another lady who visited the elves long ago. And then he goes on to describe Angela, basically, to a T.
Yeah,
So Angela's been here.
the whole time.
Guess she lives
course.
forever, of course. Why doesn't she
Well, 'cause
help
wasn't
with...
it like a super, super long time ago this woman was with the elves?
It was like a
Too
while ago.
crazy.
Yeah, okay, so why doesn't she help us win? If she's all knowing and she's been to all these places, she lives forever. Is she Sindri? Is Angela Sindri?
You know, weirdly, I could kind of get behind that. Mama Sindri, our dirt mommy. I feel like she is helping us win. Maybe not to the degree she could. It's hard to say. She
Yeah.
does say she's like famously bad at magic, basically.
Seems
So-
like it works for her when she needs it to.
Yeah. So it feels like she's kind of just embedded with Niswada, trying to like be everywhere and give advice to Queen President. Maybe she thinks that's what is going to help the most. I mean,
Yeah.
she's met Islanzadi, so I feel like she is
She's like,
where she's going to do the most good.
I'm not going to go over
Yeah.
there. Well, I'm curious, but she seems kind of outside everything we know. But
Yeah.
anyway, Ormus feels the same as I do about her prophecies. He says they're kind of useless to think about at all. And he is interested, though, in Solembum's message.
Okay.
He says he's never heard of any of the places Solembum mentioned.
Yeah.
And doesn't think he'll find anything when he reads up on it for Eragon. Also, he doesn't think the Menoa Tree has a weapon, but he, does know a family who has a rider sword that might let him
Yeah.
borrow it.
He's like, It is a tree, Eragon.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything under there.
Why would it have a sword, bud?
Yeah.
Ormus will also reach out to the smith Runen Elder to see if she has any thoughts on what to do.
Yes, I like that he's a man with connections. You can tell he's like deep in his networking bag. He knows everybody.
Yeah.
He can pull some of his contacts to get almost anything done.
Exactly.
I think he's in one of those business networking groups.
Oh yeah, and he's been around so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He started the like a Rotary Club in Ellesmere.
Yes.
Yeah. At this point, Ormus ends their never-ending meeting because he probably can see energy fields, and Energy and Saphira are too tired for anything else.
Yes, dude.
He's like, your chakras are not
Yeah.
aligned.
You guys look bad. I think it's one of those.
Yeah.
You look tired.
You
And
look
you're like, thanks.
Thank you.
Ugh.
Before they head out, he does mention Eragon should check out the Menoa Tree to ease his mind, if anything else.
Yeah.
Regardless of how useless it's going to be. Obviously, Ormus is a mental health and resting on top of yoga and veganism.
Yes,
He
we
really-
love him.
He really is great. Eragon doesn't want to go, so Ormus makes him a deal. Eragon can pick any subject of magic to learn while he's in town.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Eragon picks the one thing Ormus will not teach. Eragon asks for the magic to summon spirits. You know, the art of sorcery you've heard about is so dangerous and complicated. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He freaks out Ormus and kind of pisses him off, or at least worries him.
Yeah.
He tells Eragon it's evil and risky, taking 3 years of study before you even summon your first spirit. Also, Ormus explains that a shade dragon rider would be maybe the worst thing ever seen on the planet.
Yeah.
Even more worse than Galbatorix if Eragon fucks up. So, like, I guess it's a no then.
Yes, it's also a no for me, dog. That's horrifying
Yeah.
to behold.
Also, could you imagine we just stopped for 3 years to do this now?
Ormus is like, we have a bare handful of hours in which you could learn something. And Eragon's like, I'd like to do a lifetime's worth of study.
Yeah. This
Can that-
whole other art
Can
of
we
magic.
make it happen?
Yeah. Eragon, taking the hit, follows this request to learn about the spirits and control, you know, sorcerer moves
Yeah.
and arts of
Yeah.
ancients to learn about his true name.
Oh,
Yeah.
just another light. We have a couple hours. What should we banter around?
This really irritates the Zen master, who is like, come on, man.
I know.
This is insane. Ormus says
Just a small crack in the facade at this. He's
Yeah.
like,
he's like vein is popping on his forehead.
Yes.
Ormus says he could guess, and yeah, he probably knows it, because of course he does. But it's not a spell, and thus technically not within his purview of what he promised. So he doesn't have to teach Eragon any of that.
Yeah.
He goes on to say that Eragon won't gain as much if he told him his true name than if he learned it himself. And Ormus is always passively savage. Explains to Eragon that you have to earn enlightenment. You can't be given it. Probably sip some kombucha after he says this. Like, you have to earn
oh
enlightenment.
yeah, Dane. That's a man with a strong probiotics game. I definitely would believe that. You know who I'm just thinking Eragon should totally ask about his true name, who just like knows everything all the time?
Angela?
Angela. Oh yeah, Angela's here.
Totally. So Eragon has to learn how to teleport objects like Arya did.
Yes.
When she sent the egg to Braum. Ormus finally agrees to this choice.
It's like, that'll work.
It's a little underwhelming, but okay, whatever. I mean, at first, the first two choices, this is a little lackluster if those were what we offered first, but whatever.
I don't know.
Sensible isn't sexy, though. Just saying.
Hey, speak for yourself, Dane.
Before Eragon heads out to go to sleep, Ormus updates Eragon on Sloane, and it's really funny at first because I imagine like Eragon's walking away, and he completely forgets about Sloane. Then he totally cursed here.
That's right. I loved that.
Initially, Eragon is like, "Who could you be talking about?" It's really nice. Nails the team vibes perfectly.
Yes.
Turns out our butcher boy made it to the elves. He was a little half dead when he got there, maybe
Oh.
a bit hungry.
Ooh, yep.
Yeah, but he's been completely healed.
Okay.
Except for his eyes, obviously. No harm, no foul. He lives in a house by a beautiful stream with elves constantly giving him delicious vegan food, soft, well-made
God.
clothing, taking him on guided walks whenever his heart desires. You know what the haters think is absolute torture.
I'm like, do you think I should betray my village and commit a murder? Because like, I want to go.
right?
I want to go do that.
Yeah, we learned that Sloane has made 2 attempts to escape, but Eragon's curse magic is very strong. Ormus tells Eragon that he doesn't have to visit Sloane, but he should never forget about him, which seems fair,
Yeah.
given that Eragon just forgot about him. Then Ormus, like he did when they first met, looks at Eragon's hands. A little odd for a guy dismissing prophecies to be palm reading, but okay. Wait, is this mansplaining, Jax?
No, I think it was elf-splaining when he was talking shit about the prophecies.
Right.
This here, just garden variety hypocrisy.
Nice. Elf hypocrisy.
Elf-pocracy.
Elf-pocracy. Well, we end this chapter learning that Eragon no longer has the hands of a farmer,
Oh.
but the hands of a warrior.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and
Dane,
Ormus.
do you think we're going to have to stop calling him a bean farmer?
I think we do.
Do we have to call him a bean warrior now? I don't know if I can make the swap. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, we'll transition next season.
Okay.
Ormus warns him not to become a tyrant or enjoy killing too much, and enjoy thinking about that, sweet boy.
Yes.
Like, what the hell?
Yes, truly wild. That very nice thought takes us to chapter 50, the Tree of Life. This chapter picks up as Saphira and Eragon head out from Ormus's hut to the Menoa Tree. When they arrive, our sweet bean farm warrior goes out. He goes full like needle in a haystack here, searching.
Well, yeah,
for
he's
roots.
a farmer.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. Well, he's not really internalized, I think, that lesson from Ormus yet. He's literally like basically searching on his hands and knees. His first suggestion of what they might be finding there is a slab of bark he could enchant and use as like a cudgel? I have no idea.
Maybe another staff, perhaps. Maybe the first one was foreshadowing.
I mean, yes, that would be a farmer move. Again, I think he's really, really reeling from that last revelation.
Maybe he's thinking a lateral
Ormus's.
move. He's like, there's a shepherd's crook we could find.
Yes, I think I could do it. I could enchant it. It could be a deadly shepherd's crook. It's like, that's kind of the opposite of the shepherd metaphor, Eragon. You're not really getting it,
I
dude.
thought you were a warrior now, dude.
So Saphira shoots this awful idea right down, thank God for her. And even though they're supposed to be resting, they spend several hours among the roots of the tree this night, searching for like any hint of anything they can find.
He's running from the last thought Ormus left him with
I
about
really
becoming a
think
tyrant.
so, yeah.
He's like, we can't go to bed yet.
Yes.
I'm a murderer.
I definitely think this whole scene is just him being like, am I a farmer? Do I need a staff? Am I a murderer?
What about my hands?
I can't find this needle. So they're disappointed in their search, but Eragon and Saphira head back to their sweet downtown loft, which I kind of forgot about.
Pretty great.
Loved their Elismira house. They finally get some rest that night before an elf leads them to the compound of the family who owns this sword the next morning. Eragon arrives at the house, and the elf in charge, Lord Fjoller.
Ooh, good
Fjoller?
name. Fjoller, not a dormnad.
Not
a
no
Marlin
doormat,
Redbeard.
but pretty good. Pretty, I'd say like mid plus for Fjoller.
Mid, for
Mid
sure.
plus.
Yeah.
So this guy tells Eragon about the history of the rider sword that's an heirloom in his family, Tamerlane, and apparently it belonged to his wife's brother who was a rider. I loved this story. We love a badass lady. So his brother-in-law was mortally wounded in Illyria when Galen the Forsworn attacked, and he gave the sword to Lord Fjoller's wife to fight her way back to Elismira. And this badass lady fucking did that. She
Pretty
came
cool.
back with what I have to assume were Oramus and Glader. She like came back in the company with, he says, another rider and dragon.
Yeah.
So I think that's them. And she ended up dying from her wounds when she got back.
Okay, what could they not heal? Like this, what are we brainstorming? Because this didn't track for me. I was like, well, how did she die? They basically can heal everything.
Yeah. I mean, must be big T trauma from losing her brother.
What they couldn't heal was the emotional toll.
I think so. I mean, I don't know what else it could be, honestly.
I'm buying that because it's just like an elf to die of like heartbreak.
Yes, 100%. I mean, look at the tree. Look at their tree god.
Their
That's
tree god.
not a god.
It's not a god, Jacqui.
Right,
and there
right.
are no miracles.
Right,
Except
right.
the heart of hearts.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Elfpocracy.
Hypocrisy. I love it. So the sword actually is cool as hell. It's this deep green, like emerald set blade with engravings that read, this was my favorite part about it, I am Tamerlane, bringer of the final sleep.
Wow.
Like, that is metal as fuck.
That writer was intense.
Yes, I definitely feel like I fucked up on designing my sword blade now, but
You could put
it's
runes.
too late to take back.
I mean,
We've done it. It's canon.
I put a Creed song on mine.
Mine says it was on sale.
But it's an Elven, so it looks cool.
I stand by that choice. So Eragon promises that he's like just going to be borrowing the sword. He'll totally return it if Lord Fjoller or any of his heirs want to do take backsies. But Saphira ultimately convinces Eragon that if their lives are going to depend on his sword, it's going to need to be perfect. And Tamerlane just like has a few inconsistencies that are not going to work for him. So after explaining why they won't be taking his priceless family heirloom, Eragon and Saphira leave Fioler's house and head to Runan's. And Runan's greeting is basically to berate Eragon for losing Zara.
I mean, it was a lame move.
Yeah.
But also for being the most like powerful, most important person, like new powerful. He's treated pretty rough by almost all of the people he surrounds himself with.
That's true. It does seem like a choice he's making at this point to really ingratiate himself with people who do not respect him.
At all. They're just like, dude, what an idiot.
I will say, of all the people doing this, I'm not as mad about Runan because this is exactly how she treats Arya. It seems like this is like exactly how she'd treat Islanzadi or Oramis. Like she just is a crabby old lady.
Well, you could say the same thing about Angela.
Yeah.
She's irreverent, right?
Yeah.
And you could say the same thing about Arya. She's just like mean to people. I think like
she's nice to Naswada.
Exactly.
That's the love story we need.
That's the real love story.
Yes,
all
I
along.
think so far we have Eragon and Garshbra, Angela and Naswada. Those are our official podcast ships. It's wild here.
I love it.
Wouldn't take a thing back.
Nope.
I do think that's consistent. I guess Runan, it feels like much more mild. It's like she
true.
doesn't really mean anything by it. She's just like, are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Yes, I know. I guess what I'm getting at is I agree with you that this fits her character a lot, and I like it.
Yeah.
But it feels like we have a lot of similar
Yes, for sure.
ladies around.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Interesting choice to write all the women this way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand why this is the choice.
Yeah, except for Naswada, I guess.
Naswada's cool.
Elfa, who's cursed.
Well, at least
I guess she's mean too.
She's
Never
mean too,
mind.
but in a unique way.
In a way that's all her own
Exactly.
brand of cursed witch baby. So Runan moves on to a discussion of the type of sword Eragon needs with this incredible line, quote, "And do not even speak to me of Tamerlane." She's like so exasperated. She's like, I hope you didn't fucking try that. I'm like, the sass. We just love our blacksmith mommy.
Yeah, okay. So she's a muscle mommy too, right? Like she's our muscle mommy.
I think so. I mean, she'd have to be a muscle mommy because she like insist on doing all of her blacksmithing by the strength of her arm instead of using magic.
She's like, I think she's described as buff.
Yes. I don't know though. I guess for me, muscle mommy is a term that like applies to too many people. Blacksmith mommy makes Runan unique in my heart.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Yes. So Eragon asks her about Brom's sword and reveals his true parentage to Runan. I love that as soon as he finds this out, he's like, guess who my dad was?
I'm amazed he didn't tell that Lord earlier today.
I know. So the Smith streak continues here. She says she can see the similarities between Eragon and Brom, and she liked how rude and direct Brom was. And as she's ruminating on the way like the elves kind of used to be like this, we can confirm a little more of her timeline, which I thought was interesting because she is talking about elves who are around before the elves and dragons ended their war, which is wild to me.
Yeah, she's one of those old ancient ladies.
Crazy ancient. Is she the oldest?
I think she's the oldest we
Living?
ever meet.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So Eragon asks again if she can forge him a blade, and again she replies that she will not break her oath to never create a weapon again, even if she wants to.
She gave him the Yarbog nah.
Yeah, she did. She goes, nah, dude. Nah, brah.
Nah, brah.
He does try to reason with her, though, and she says she might have a way around her oath, but there's another roadblock, actually. She goes on to tell Eragon that all of the rider swords were forged from bright steel, which is a creation of her own making of steel mixed with this ore from a meteor that she finds in the forest sometimes. But she's not hopeful that any more exist. She's like, the last time I had to find some, like it was 20 years before I found a tiny deposit of it. I think it's gone.
Yeah.
So with that hopeful spiel, Eragon and Saphira leave Runan's, and Eragon does feel certain there must be bright steel under the Menoa Tree. He's like, this is fucking it.
Yeah.
But rather than go check immediately with the clock running down, they head back to the crags for Eragon to learn the transport spell from Oramis. I'm like,
Perfect.
Great.
He's
Way to
like,
spend your time.
This is important.
Yes, I think as much as, you know, everybody's leveling up in the corporate structure and like everyone's efficiency game is getting really strong, I think Eragon really needs to sit down, do some like Gantt charts, figure out his priorities. I don't think he's like really in his bullet journal era yet.
I mean, counterpoint to that, though, he is trusting his managers.
That's true.
He is leaning into their, to their expertise.
A regular Sheryl Sandberg. Yeah. Lean in, girl. So once he's competent with the transport spell, I think you're going to talk about it a little bit later. The scene was just like, okay, he learned new magic.
It is a little bit like, okay, cool.
Oramis tells Eragon that he and Saphira will need to come back to his hut one more time before they leave. So with that, Eragon and Saphira finally head for the tree, and Saphira is apprehensive about Eragon's plan to just like talk to the vast elven remnant consciousness that's in the tree. But Eragon's response is classic American bootstrapping. He just says, it'll work because it must. You love to see it from our guy.
I bet Eragon believes in trickle-down economics. The true evil of Allegheny.
Yes, he's a bootstrapping
Capitalist.
Reaganomics guy. So Eragon does get to work trying to ply the tree with like platitudes, memories of the war, even his own energy as like an offering. And they wait hours for the tree to like come around, try to notice them. And with no end to their waiting in sight, Saphira rages out. She says she will not be ignored. This is like classic textbook Saphira.
Yeah.
And she proceeds to maul the tree with her claws and breathe fire on it in a forest. I'm like, this. Are you fucking kidding me? Did nobody do fire safe? Is there no Smokey the Bear in Allegasia? I'm very concerned.
Yeah, Bloodgarb. He's gone.
No, one of his cousins.
One of his cousins, for sure. Okay, canon, one of Bloodgarb's cousins is Smokey the Bear.
Only you can prevent sentient trees burning down. But Saphira's rage does seem to finally do the trick, but maybe not in the way they intended. The surrounding trees like sway in towards them. It's like very menacing. I loved reading this scene.
Yeah.
And the roots from the Menoa Tree like snap up and grab Eragon and Saphira before they can escape. And then the tree finally talks to him. Do you think it's happy? She asks Eragon and Saphira's names so she can know who she'll be killing for disturbing her. And Eragon does name both of them, but then he insists that like part of naming them is going to include an explanation of the position that they're in. So I'm like,
loophole.
Bit of a stretch, but you go, bud.
Yeah.
It turns out the Menoa Tree says she does have bright steel under her roots, but they can't have it because Saphira attacked her. And like, I think that's fair. I think that makes sense.
I think if she got to the root of the problem, she would see that they would leave her be. You know what I mean?
Would she see that?
I don't know. Maybe they're barking up the wrong tree.
No, it's definitely the right tree. She's just mean.
Well, they'll figure it out.
Oh my God. But after some more back and forth between the tree and Eragon, I have to assume there are some fantastic tree puns thrown in this discourse as well.
Yeah.
She does agree to give up the ore if Eragon will give her what she wants in return. And this fucking guy, he has learned truly nothing and just blindly agrees to this. He does not know what she wants. He doesn't feel like he needs to know. He's just like, I gotta get it, gotta do it. Eragon.
Eragon literally didn't spare a second.
No.
Like, not a second.
No, and I love
He's just like, yes.
This is hot on the heels of the day where everybody was pretty exasperated that Saphira had done this over and over, with Brom and Clater being like, sure, I won't tell. What's the secret?
Yeah. I know he was just mad at this.
Yes. Like, dude, okay. So after a few minutes, the roots of the tree expel the ore. And as it surfaces, Eragon feels something I know we're going to revisit in your deep dive, but suffice it to say, the tree took what she wanted.
Oh.
Yes. And just like nothing insane ever happened here, she lets Eragon and Saphira go. She's just like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
I kind of imagine her like having this very menacing like spiel and speech, but doing the whole thing like, hey guys, I'm going to kill you soon. Do you want to tell me your name so I know who I'm going to rip limb from limb?
So like, I'm going to like murderously massacre you later, but like, could I just get you like your names?
Yes.
Because like, I'm polite.
Like one of those people who talks so quietly you have to lean in. And
Yeah.
then when you lean in, they claw your face off.
I always pictured,
like that.
I know this is weird, but I've always pictured the Menoa Tree as Pocahontas's like tree she talks to in that movie.
Grandmother Willow?
Grandmother Willow is kind of what I've always pictured.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That probably makes more sense, but quiet and menacing and kind of yogi-like.
Well, I guess it could.
Personal headcanon.
It can work
It's
for
fun,
like,
Dane. It's
hey,
whimsical.
children, what's your name? Gonna kill you later.
Yeah, she's a little kooky,
Yeah.
high energy, kooky, old.
I'm a god, but I'm not a benevolent god.
Yes, I like that a lot.
Okay.
So as they grab their prize and leave the tree, Saphira admits she may have been a little rash here. And Eragon is still puzzling over what the tree evidently got in exchange for the ore, but they don't have time for that because the elves who came to investigate this like huge disturbance with their god, they seem pissed.
Well, I wonder why they are so mad.
I know. But the chapter ends with them hurrying from the clearing before any elves can attack them, while Saphira wonders if they'll survive to regret physically harming the elves' god tree.
Well, you know what? To their credit, it's not a god. It's just a tree.
is a god.
It's a god. It's a god.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I do love like just all the elves who immediately come to gather around and they're like, you hurting our girl.
Yeah.
It's like, you're what? You're just like totally normal tree?
I thought this was just a tree.
Yeah. I thought nothing was important to you and nothing matters.
Seems like a miracle that they're all worried about it. Yeah. Anyway, chapter 51, Mind Over Metal. Eragon's gone back to her muscle mommy, Rhiannon, and absolutely shocks her with the ore.
Yes.
There's enough here for several swords to be made.
Yes, I liked that. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah, Rhiannon says she will give Eragon a sword like the likes of which has never been seen before.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a risky sales pitch.
Super casual, yeah.
Yeah, Rhiannon Def has never heard the statement under promise, over deliver.
As personally as an expert in this philosophy, I can give her some pointers because this shit works, Rhiannon.
Yeah, she's definitely like the elves are definitely not perfect at everything, it seems.
Yeah.
Anyway, basically the whole war thing is still happening and speed is necessity here, and she's going to use magic where she would normally take weeks to do things by hand.
Okay.
She will be using the aid of Saphira's energy and fire.
That's fun.
As for how she herself will make it, she won't. She will link deep into Eragon's mind and use his body to operate like a robot.
Shit.
Wild, horrifying, but wild.
Yes.
Yeah. They instantly get to work, and it's just very clear how Christopher Paolini loves blacksmithing.
Yes.
Yeah, like because he goes into great detail about making this sword.
So much detail. I liked it though. I mean, famously, I know basically nothing about it, so I was like, "Oh, you do what now? Oh, and then it does what now?"
Well, Eragon helps with all the manual labor, and the prep takes hours before they even put the ore in the smelter to melt it down.
Yeah.
And they need to wait until it's night for them to actually see the color of the sword. So, that sounds like it made some type of sense. I don't know.
I could see how in a situation where you're blending these metals together, like visual cues would be important. I know that's a thing.
Yeah.
This is so insignificant, but it's a thing a lot with baking. Like when you're making different doughs, like you can see like hydration levels, or like you kind of poke it to get the gluten content. You kind of know what you're working with just by looking at it, whether or not your bread's gonna like rise and bake right, if the crumb's gonna be light and airy or dense.
Yeah, the old blacksmith, the bacon pipeline.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it does make sense.
I could definitely, my boyfriend loves to bake. I could definitely picture him getting into this shit.
Being a blacksmith?
Yes,
I would love that if Ben became a blacksmith.
It's probably on the horizon
because he's
for
not
him.
nerdy at all, but like not in a way. He's nerdy in like space and math, science.
But he's been doing the crossover the last few years. You got him super into D&D, and I think blacksmithing may be on the horizon for our retirement someday, Dane.
I love that. They have an interview process during the wait and learn that Eragon likes a sword he can use with two hands when needed, but enjoys wielding a sword with one hand most of the time.
Ooh, versatile.
Yeah, he'd prefer a hilt a little longer than what Zarok's was, more like a hand and a half sword that Murtagh had.
Okay.
For the blade's length, he'd like it as long as Zarok and straight with a smaller tip than older swords made to older armor.
Okay.
So Eragon is a blade for all occasions kind of man.
Trying to take into account the tech advancements of the day.
Exactly.
I like it. Do you think he's a gadget? He's a guy.
Oh, he's a guy. And it should probably be more to like protect from magic than any other blade before, so that he can kill Galbatorix without much fear of Galbatorix's magic affecting it.
Yes, total sense. He's kind of a jack of all blades, you might say, Dane.
Oh gosh.
Listen, tree puns guy. I also like that, like, so much of the interview about his sword revolves around what Murtagh's sword is like. He's like, well, I kind of like this about this Murtagh sword, and like I also like this about Zarok, which is now Murtagh's sword.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Then Eragon is measured. Ronan watches as he fights alone.
Okay.
Then Ronan fights him for a while herself.
Yes.
And after all this, she knows exactly the sword to make him because of course she does.
Well, it is her business.
Yeah. Next, our muscle mommy enters Eragon's mind, and he promptly almost ruins everything by pointing out that this is really no different than her making the sword himself.
That's right.
And she's like, do you want me to make this? Then shut up.
Yes.
And I like Ronan. She is different from the other elves.
Yes.
This does feel different.
Yeah.
Eragon is familiar, like once she's inside of him, she tries to get familiar with his body.
Yeah.
And she gets into like every pore and literally totally takes over his body. She tests it out, takes it out for a test run.
Yeah.
And Eragon panics a bit. I think I would too.
Yes.
And it only gets worse when Ronan almost quits.
Yes.
Because she's like, this is so different. I can't really do this. It's touch and go.
Yeah, I like the way it's described too, because she's like such an intricately skilled craftsman.
Yeah.
She's like, there's no way I can make these meaty hands do my delicate business.
These warriors' hands. Yeah.
I'm like, I could see that.
Yeah, but ultimately, with some coaching from Saphira,
Okay.
she gets the hang of it.
Nice.
Anyway, back to the greatest hits of a very detailed chapters, and after only touching on a very few of this, like I'm not going over all this very detailed. Saphira is using Dragonfire to heat the sword metal throughout the crafting at this point. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Runen uses magic the whole time, singing like elves do to grow plants in such a complex and intricate pattern in the ancient lineage that even while she and Eragon are one.
Yeah.
So he's in her mind.
Yes.
He cannot understand it.
That's
it's
crazy.
fucking metal. She's insanely good at magic, I guess.
Yes, I liked that too.
Yeah. Runen also sings about the arm, like the arm Eragon's using to operate the hammer because like she can't hit it where it would normally go. So now she's using like machine precision with the magic, forcing the magic to go, like push the hand exactly where it needs to go.
So cool.
It's very cool. Magic perfectly enhanced forging is the best type of forging. Magic on magic on magic on magic.
Yes, we appreciate precision craftsmanship.
Yes, this is built to last. At this point, a werecat and 2 elven children come to watch. Runen says they are the only children in the entire city.
Crazy.
They have otherworldly grace and power, and they only get less magical as they age.
Yeah.
This was weird.
Yes.
This was new, and so for some reason, it creeped me out a little bit.
Yes, I would definitely agree. I feel like they're giving like elven children of the corn vibes.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yes.
Runen finally releases Eragon. Eragon's body is so tired from all the heavy work, but also all the magic he used that he almost falls to the ground.
Dude.
He's dismissed by Runen because the sword blade is done.
Yes.
And she can now finish all the other pieces herself.
Loopholes on loopholes, Dane.
She's really stretching her oath.
Yes.
But I like this.
Yeah.
The chapter's nice as it ends. Eragon falls asleep with the thoughts that Saphira will stay up to watch Runen for him to remember, which is super handy.
Yeah.
I wish I could do this with my wife. Like she could watch shows and I just remember them through her or book anything.
Dude,
really. It would
we
be
could
dope.
consume twice as much content in this way.
Which is exactly what we need to do.
Yes. That does take us to chapter 52, A Rider in Full. We pick up this chapter the next morning with Saphira waking Eragon kind of in a rush. She's like, you need to get back down to see Runen right now. And he's like, holy shit, I'm so tired. I was just, you guys sent me to bed. Like, what? But when he does make it back down to the forge, Runen keeps just giving so many nuggets from her here. She basically says that she's the biggest badass to ever live, and she did what no other person could, and the sword she made is the best sword to ever existing. Super casual.
Very
She's
casual.
Just, you know,
Underselling again.
what a way to wake up. If it's me, I'm like, it's too much for me. Too much.
Yeah.
No. Let's dial it back. Let's maybe do some whispers, girl. I don't like it.
This says something about me too, but even if I believed all the things about something I made, I'd still be like, it's all right.
It's fine. It's fine.
Just another one of my swords.
Yes, especially at dawn. I guess if I'm her actually and I've stayed up all night finishing something, I'm like, come look at this. I love it so much. But if I'm Eragon, freshly awoken,
Yeah.
I'm pissed. I'm not having this manic energy. But she does give us an epic behold. She whips covering cloth off the sword and reveals to Eragon.
Can you imagine if it was a staff? She's just like, you're a bean farmer. Stick to being a human. Yeah.
I mean, for that elves, that would not surprise me, I think.
Elfocracy.
Yes. What elf condescension, elf dissension.
Elfcension.
Yes. But Eragon is stunned speechless when he sees his sword. Its scabbard and the sword itself are a deep blue, this like intricately carved and woven, deadly, gorgeous, like mythical proportions. It's the coolest fucking sword.
Cool.
Yes. Eragon tentatively asks for permission to grab it. He's like, could I touch it? And he swings it around a few times, and it's immediately clear that this sword is an extension of him in a way no other he's wielded has been. It is immediately perfect. And I liked that kind of payoff. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
We don't have like a tweak.
He's
didn't
like, you know what?
fuck something up in his first sword forging ever.
I actually do think I need a staff.
Now that I'm doing this, I just think I killed the Rozak with it. I think I could do it. But he is like absolutely overcome by his gratitude. And Runen says he can repay her by killing Galbatorix. Small price to pay for the nicest sword in history, I guess.
Look, at this point, I'd pay any price if he'll stop talking about this goddamn sword. He better take this deal.
Yes.
I just please stop talking about swords,
Luckily
Eragon.
for you, me, for Runen, for the world.
For all of the world.
for the war. He does take this deal.
Thank God.
So Runan says that with this sword, Eragon is now truly a rider. And she asks him to nix it so she can put its name on the inside of its tag so it doesn't get lost with all the other swords in the cubbies at school.
He's like Prada.
He gets me. So Saphira has a bunch of suggestions for names that are varying shades of like vicious and gruesome. And Eragon starts to tease her a little, saying he could always name it Saphira. And I thought this part was like really cute, but Saphira puts a quick end to this little jab.
We don't really see a lot of this between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I wish we had more of Eragon like teasing Saphira because of the way she is, it would be easy to do.
Yes.
And like he clearly enjoys doing it. It's funny.
I thought it definitely added another like level of depth to their bond for sure.
It's a nice moment.
Yeah. But as Eragon thinks back over his training, his deeds, his memories of Brahm, he knows what the name needs to be, Dane. We know what the name needs to be, Dane. Hell, Christopher Paolini always what the name needs to be. It's Brisingr.
Did not see that coming. I love it. Does live up to our little bean farmer that he would name a sword Fire.
It's fire, bro.
It's fire. That's fire.
Yes. But when he names it, the thing bursts immediately into flames. And this turns out to be like a fun amenity in the sword. Every time he says, Brisingr, the blade lights up with no apparent damage. Very cool. It only works at his command. And Runan kind of thinks that this is either like the sword being specifically attuned to Eragon because of his role in forging it, or that Brisingr is its true name. So I thought both were interesting possibilities.
Cool.
I could definitely see either. But this chapter ends as Runan magically engraves the sword and scabbard with the rune for fire, and Eragon and Saphira and are just like, thank you so much. I cannot believe you did it. You did it. You did it.
When I read this, I was like, it's done.
It's done.
We never have to suffer again.
It is done. Yes. So they out of her house.
And with no more sword talk ever to be talked about ever again. Chapter 53, Greaves and Bracers. And I hate to leave Eragon now that he has a sword, obviously. But we end this episode with a smash cut into this chapter as Roran and Katrina are getting tent.
Yes.
Katrina puts armor on Roran, and I'm getting Tom Cruise getting armor put on him in the Last Samurai vibes for this scene.
I was just about to say, of course you're getting Tom Cruise. It's giving Tom Cruise.
It's Ryan Gosling doing his best Tom Cruise impression in The Last Samurai.
Yes, if we had spent a couple decades with Ryan Gosling understudying Tom Cruise and all of the Mission Impossibles, this is what we have now.
Oh my God. Did we
Roran.
solve the problem? Did we just solve generational issues?
We're always solving generational issues. Kind of our thing.
It's kind of our thing. We're just solving the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, there isn't like much more to say. Roran's gearing up for battle while at the same time comforting Katrina because of course Roran is going to be marching in the front line of the coming battle. Katrina gives him a kerchief to put around his belt as her favor. Classic medieval stuff.
Yes, love it.
He leaves her to join up with his men, standing next to his boy, Yarbog.
Yes.
I love this. Before running towards the wall of Feinster as the siege begins.
Yes.
I love these vignettes of Roran and Katrina, mostly because I've been trapped with them this entire season. And I feel like we get a lot of them in this book, and I kind of like it.
I'm into it. I think it's a nice, like, showing, you know, the flip side of Roran, that brutal sociopath. And we just see him treating his wife like shit and being a bad... Oh, no, that's her. Right. He's just being nice and tender and consumed by his guilt all the time.
And lovely.
Yes. I do have a question. Do you think his assignment to the front line, I mean, he's in charge of his company at this point. Do you think it's him pulling a little for, like... I could see Roran being like, I'll go. I got it.
I was thinking about Niswada.
Yeah.
She's just trying to get rid of him. She's like, you in the front.
You got it. I think you're better than anybody.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. And then like as he walks away, she's like, win-lose. It's a win-lose situation.
For her, win-win.
Yeah. Sorry, win-win. Yeah. Well, he'll lose his life.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I think he's got this.
I guess we'll have to see.
Yes, I do love that Yarbog's there. I think
they like did a fist bump when he walked up.
Yes.
Well, anyway. That's it.
Anyway, that's it. What a cliffhanger on the eve of battle, and all we get from you is anyway, that's it. Anyway, that's it. Wow, Dane. Wow. I'll be the one to say, I hope this battle goes well in our final episode of the season.
I mean,
wild.
the most cinematic thing in this season has happened already. Eragon finally has a sword. But yeah, my bad. To war!
That is the energy we need. We are headed to the climactic battle. It's the most cinematic thing so far, but probably not the most cinematic thing to come. We're going to find out.
Right.
So before we can find out anything of any of that, unfortunately, we have our requisite breakdowns to do for this penultimate section of chapters. And I want to kick us off with some thoughts on the theme I noticed this time in this section.
Okay.
It's time for analysis.
As we're ramping up to the climax of this book, I kept coming back to the idea of giving up control as very central to this plot and characters. The chapter opens on Eragon with Oramis, and I think that's a solid start to put us in the mindset of giving up control of all of our many dads so far in the series. I think we've spent the most time like on screen with Oramis, and he's argued the character Eragon has most completely given up control to.
Yeah, totally.
Yes, so I think it's a good way of setting the scene here, kind of seeding this idea from the jump. Eragon respects Oramis and Glader to the degree he refers to them as master, and if that isn't a signal he ceded his agency to them, I have no idea what would be. And as he follows Oramis's suggestions to find this weapon, his search ultimately leads him to the discovery of the bright steel. And how is he able to actually get the ore that he needs? By opening himself up to the tree wholly, blindly giving up anything it wants in return. Do we wish he asked a few more questions about that before committing? Sure.
Maybe.
Sure. But did it ultimately get him what he needed? Yes, it did.
And that's all that matters.
Yes. Which leads us to the big payoff in these chapters. I don't know if anyone mentioned it to you, Dane, but Eragon needed a sword. And after setting that up throughout this entire book, we got the sword to end all swords in this section.
It's kind of fire.
Just, I guess it's fire, you could say. So again, we see that Eragon is only able to forge his hero sword, his most important weapon, by giving up every vestige of autonomy to Runin. There's such a discomfort, I think. We both felt this when you read the early parts of the scene, but I feel like Christopher Paolini really leads us along with Eragon to ease in, kind of getting lost in all that detailed description of the forging until we're all rewarded together with Brisingr.
Yeah.
Cue book title drop, cue recurring loop close, cue level up. It's all of the things.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes. So as we up with Roran in these chapters, I think it's fitting that he's getting charge into battle, fully at the mercy of his commander in Neswata, and the tender scene between him and Katrina is such a good emotional tie. I think we need to highlight the loss of control being a reality of war. In one fell swoop, we're seeing both the reason Roran has to fight and lose his agency, and the one thing making doing that almost impossible.
Yeah,
it's all wrapped up in a neat little kerchief. And I like that as this series progresses and our characters are growing, it really feels like the themes we see that revolve around morality and coming of age are starting to be more concrete, almost answerable questions, I think, as opposed to the way things were left more open-ended in the first book. Those were some things we talked about. It was like this theme feels like it's revolving around a question or this versus that. And it's interesting to me to read this like relinquishing of control in this way here, because I think so often the loss of agency and identity comes with negative connotations and consequences that can obviously be a bad thing. But I think Paolini is taking the opposite tack in this book. It's only through the willing surrender of control that Eragon is able to get what he needs and progress on his journey. So it seems that he's framing this idea, an idea that lets us know it's a strength to be rewarded, not a weakness at all. And if we're going to talk about journeys and rewards, finally getting the sword he needs to fight the big bad is right in line with what we talked about, I think, in the hero's journey last time.
It's a +3 flaming burst bastard sword for sure. Yeah, just so we're clear.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
If you need to write it up on your character sheets, everybody.
Yeah, if you're making an Eragon character at home.
Yes,
that's
you heard
what
it here
this is.
first. So this is just one more key Eragon is getting to build on the atonement / gaining of knowledge skill that started with the reveal about Brahm. So I think this is like really, really the final bookend to all of that.
Yeah.
So I guess I should have warned you to buckle up for a chunky analysis because there's a lot here in this section.
Okay, keep going. I love it.
Yes, there's just one more two-part thing that I'd really be sleeping on the job if I didn't bring up, and that is symbolism.
Ooh.
There are two huge symbols in these chapters that are super fitting for the story, so I want to get into it.
Okay.
The first symbol is hopefully obvious if you're reading along with us. It's swords.
What?
Yes, Dane. Like I often say here, I really am thoughtful about this. I really dig deep to find this stuff.
This was thoughtful. This is...
I did do some research and I would look it up. So swords come up a ton in literature and mythology, obviously, particularly in fantasy stories, of course. And this book and the I need a sword drinking game are no exception. Swords are typically used to represent power, strength, and courage. And I think if we take the whole of Eragon's arc from the end of Eldest to this point, that's fitting pretty snugly.
Yeah,
with using the sword to getting the sword. After being bested and having his dad fake revealed in the fight with Murtagh, Eragon has been back on a road of trials on his own to earn his power, strength, and courage back, I think, in a lot of ways, which happens here finally after we set the record straight about his real dad.
Bram was his daddy all along.
All along. The second symbol, though, I want to talk about is the titular idea that comes up in this section of chapters, fire. And again, it's a pretty fitting use of the fire metaphor as the name of the sword, since so often in literature, fire represents the double-edged nature of knowledge or illumination and destruction or pain, which is obviously a tension Eragon feels. That sociopath.
Yeah. What a psycho.
Yes, he's always ruminating on this tension with the creation and potential of this tool balanced against the violence it's bound to perpetrate. Something Runan and her oath bring right to the forefront and all the discussion of that. But beyond that, I think the fact that Brisingr is Eragon's first spell, a big part of his tie to magic and journey to knowledge, is also telling us about his preoccupation with the implications of this illumination and its potential for disaster. So I think it's just one more tie how much he thinks about what that spell means to him and where he started on his journey with it. I think that's really that through line of like, holy shit, look at where I've been.
I like
look
that.
at what I've done.
Yeah,
look at what I'm about to do. It has its upsides because I do it, but it obviously has its downsides that I literally have PTSD about. So I hope I did you proud this time, Dane, because I went a little deep. Do you have anything deeper for your deep dive?
I think we could just skip my segment this week and go straight to the hitters. I'm just kidding.
Give us the crunch.
We need to branch out to something that stumped the whole fandom for the inheritance cycle. It's time for my deep dive.
Oh my god.
Deep dive.
Tree puns on tree puns.
I'm just going wild with them. This episode's deep dive is going to be a little different. I want to talk about something the fans of the series go wild on.
Ooh.
What did Eragon give the Menoa Tree?
Yeah.
There are loads of fan guesses online, and just on Reddit alone, I think the posts about it might be never ending. I have like 1 billion tabs up. I thought it would be fun to go over some of these guesses and see what theories we have, because Christopher Paolini has mentioned that this will play a part in book 5.
Ooh, okay.
So I think it's bound to be something pretty big.
Nice.
So let's dive into it.
Okay.
The oldest and most popular ideas online are tied together, and they're kind of similar.
Okay.
So we're going to first start there. The first is that the Menoa Tree took Eragon's ability to have children.
Oh, okay.
And I think this is really based on the description in the book, which reads, quote, "As the ore came to rest on the surface of the rich black soil, Eragon felt a slight twinge in his lower belly.
Ooh.
He winced and rubbed at that spot, but the very flare of discomfort had already vanished." This seems a little weird to me.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't hurt his balls if this were the case. Not his lower belly. I'm not a doctor. I'm pretty sure that's
As
where
a woman, I was like, that makes sense if you're losing your ability to have children. But, oh, right.
I'm pretty sure that's what those do.
Famously, a man.
Yeah. Beyond that, I can quickly rule this idea out, as it was confirmed in 2016 through a tweet or X or whatever the heck we're calling that now, that Christopher Paolini said Eragon can still have babies. So unfortunately, one of the more popular ones is out. And if you're worried, we're home, everyone, about Saphira and her ability to have eggs, the tree didn't take that either.
Oh, good.
I have a link to both of those pieces of evidence for you to look at. In the same vein, we have the idea that the Menoa Tree took some of Eragon's sperm and or DNA and is going to make a baby perhaps with him.
Okay.
This one feels closer to home to me, I guess. I don't know how I feel about that possibility.
Yeah.
Seems a little strange, a little rapey to me, but
Yeah. Maybe like a piece of DNA feels a little like more plausible than his ability to have children altogether.
Yeah.
But it's not great.
That's not great.
Don't like to think about it.
But it is a
no.
god, so
A vengeful god.
So those are the older theories, and I
Okay.
found myself while researching heading to a Discord channel called Arcana and MC Allegazia,
Okay.
and some research done by a user there named Hello, my name is 99, which is amazing.
Great name.
Who gathered all the likely theories that Christopher Paolini didn't shoot down.
Okay.
So first, there's a theory about how Eragon can't lay roots in Allegazia.
Oh, yeah.
They call it the roots theory. Yeah.
Inventive.
Yeah, and this is why he is to be banished or be
actually,
disconnected
your
somehow from
research paper,
Algalia for all
could you
time.
Okay.
This is mostly backed up by the idea that the Menoa Tree wants Eragon to appear to leave it alone.
Okay, a theory coasting on vibes, essentially. I love it.
Yeah. The second one has the funniest name to me. It's called the Paragon theory.
Wait, pear spelled like the fruit?
Yes. This one is basically the theory that Eragon was implanted with a seed, and when he dies, it will grow into a Menoa tree, or maybe Eragon turns into like another type of Menoa tree.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It is an actively interesting theory. I could see how there's evidence for that.
Yeah.
I just cannot get past. I am obsessed with Paragon as a name for it. It's perfect. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
No notes.
Eragon's a fruit, apparently.
Nothing's ever been funnier.
Yeah.
I'm 12.
I'm glad you love this so much. The third one is the Tree of Life idea, which is the Menoa Tree took genetic information in order to make a new race.
Oh, okay.
Similar to the baby vibes we talked about a little earlier, but different in its scope and possible outcome.
Yes, a lineage of Menoa Tree theories to last for all of time.
Yeah, mushroom people or something, or like treants. I don't know.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Some others that are more self-explanatory are the Menoa Tree took away his chance of love, which fits the story of the Menoa Tree being born from a spurned lover. Or there's the idea she took some flesh to see what the heck he was. Or she pained him because Saphira pained her, so it was like feedback. So
she just was like, I'll make you feel slight discomfort.
Yeah, you'll be discomforted too. So those are the top theories, Jack.
Okay.
What's your pick?
Ooh.
And why?
I mean, hard to get past Paragon. I mean, I think given that we have seen so many times in this book, like the curse of him to leave Algasia forever, I think I'm going with that it's like, that it lines up with this thing we're having reinforced over and over.
The roots
theory. And I think maybe it's just because we make so many tree puns. I'm like set up to view it through that lens. I'm like, well, she's got roots. She's probably making a roots pun. She's probably a big pun god.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think it's any of these. I know that people have said that Christopher Paolini has said that it is one of these
that somebody's
potentials.
guessed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why this was done. Is to collect all of the ones online. I think we're misinterpreting one of the things that happened. So I think something here probably happened, like I don't know, he was implanted with a seed or something like that, but I don't think we yet know how that's going to pan out. So I would say that I don't think any of these. I do agree with you, though, that the roots theory does feel, it's been so foreshadowed and just come up a lot in this book that I'm like, I guess there's something there. I don't know how this would happen or how this would work, but
it makes sense for this to be just another tie to that, I think. And I guess if the tree is truly this like vast, unthinkably vast consciousness, maybe this is something it can sense about Eragon, something it knows about him, something it's reading from him. And so she's like, you know what would fuck you up?
I'm going to kick you out of here.
I'm going to kick you out of here.
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
Pile on top. Make sure it ends.
I'm going to let this sit with me a little bit longer. See if this blossoms into something. I don't know. But I love all this, and I think all of these are super interesting. If you ever have time, please check out that Discord I mentioned. You can find a link in our show notes, and the Reddit posts about this are endless. There's some truly funny comments, so it's definitely worth a look. So thank you. My name is 99.
My name is... Sorry. Millennials.
And he loves this book series, or she loves this book series, and so do the people on the Discord. But unfortunately, we have to turn to the haters now.
It is time.
Actually, you should do your research, huh? Have you even read it? How you pronounce it?
What are the haters saying?
There is an index in the back, right?
This is overly derivative.
So this time I wanted to bring up something that the haters don't talk a ton about, but it's something they bring up that I actually find pretty interesting. And it's the teleportation spell from Eragon.
That's right.
Yeah, that like he learns from Ormus here. We learned that this is the very magic Arya used in the first book when she sent Saphira the egg by accident to Eragon. We saw that she passed out from that spell, which makes sense, as Ormus explains here that sending anything as large as a dragon egg would, quote, leave you too exhausted to move. But we know that in the rules of the magic system as presented so far, energy needed to fuel spells increases exponentially as the distance increases. This apparently is not a problem for this spell, as Ormus explains. As Ormus explains when he says, quote, Most forms of magic require ever more energy to sustain as the distance between you and your target increases. However, that is not the case in this particular instance. It would require the same amount of energy to send the rock in my hand to the other side of that stream as it would send all the way to the Southern Isles. For that reason, the spell is most useful when you need to transport an item with magic across a distance so vast, it would kill you to move it normally through space.
Okay.
End quote. So somehow this doesn't break the distance rule of magic. He kind of tries to explain it here. The haters don't seem to like this. Yeah. So I think it's because there isn't a like more detailed explanation.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just an exception to the rule. Basically what he just said is it's an exception. Now I will accept that there are exceptions to rules all the time.
Yeah.
Notably in grammar,
yes.
For example.
Yes, we speak English.
Yeah.
We know about exceptions.
A bit of an explanation would have been nice here to put off the haters and maybe just to solidify the reasoning here. I think the haters see this as a proof point that all the rules of the magic system are being broken slowly throughout the series. Often when they rage about this, they mention the fact that the energy rules get broken by being able to pull energy from an outside source, or the wards are introduced after the first book, which would have changed the outcomes through the plot of book 1.
Yeah.
And I think this, while understandable, is a little silly. As mentioned, there are often exceptions and addendas to rules, and even within the fantasy genre, I don't think this is particularly egregious.
Yeah.
On top of that, I'll make an argument to defend this rule breaking.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, this is more of a portal situation, I think.
Okay.
The object sent by the spell doesn't move more than like a few inches.
Yes, doesn't move that distance.
No, it creates a hole in the fabric of reality to where it wants to travel. So the spell doesn't fly things or move things. It drops them through.
Yes.
It's more of a portal, waygate, whatever you.
Yeah.
I think the problem isn't that this isn't explained in the text I just quoted, but rather that it maybe wasn't explained in the way the haters would have liked.
Okay.
But they are haters. So who cares what they like?
That's kind of their thing. Yes, reading it, I definitely like the way it's described when Oramus finally moves the stone. I think perfectly supports the portal's idea. So it's like, it does still take a vast amount of energy. Christopher Paolini goes out of his way to say that.
Yeah.
And it would take a vast amount of energy to, I don't know, rip a hole in the fabric of space and time, haters.
Well, I think this makes sense for me personally. I think it's fine. I don't see any problems here. And I think that also this does open up a new thing. We know that teleportation is technically possible.
Yeah.
Because Saphira was alive in the egg. So people can
That's true.
teleport.
That is cool. If you could enough energy, if you could have like an endless supply of dragon soul batteries, you could teleport a bunch of shit from place to place.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of interesting
It does, yeah.
things.
I do like, see, it's hard because I feel like Christopher Paolini even put limits on it so far, which is like usually something haters like in a magic system. He's like, you can do this, but like you cannot do it with shit that's that big. It takes a lot of energy, and you can't unless you have a bunch of Eldenari, which nobody really does.
Yes.
You can't be using this for more than like small stones, maybe a dragon egg.
I think it's just the idea that like you couldn't pull energy but from yourself, but then it was you could pull from other people.
Yeah.
And like gems.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh, and you know, the dragons have died.
Yes.
But maybe they haven't.
Yeah.
Because of Eldenari. And like distance is major supporter for support, but like except
Not
for
here.
this. Yeah. I think that's the thing that they're more irritated about. I don't really even think it has to matter with the spell because the spell's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I think it's more they haters. They see a
They're
pattern.
haters.
They hate it. You know what I mean?
That's our sweet babies.
But
they can't help it. On brand as ever.
Yeah, they don't miss. They always go for it.
Yes.
Well, we are done. Like we have more.
I know we're in the last gasps of this book. We have a big ass battle. It sounds like we're headed to Feinster.
So cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm really excited, I think, to see everybody's level up. I think since I've been thinking so much about Hero's journey and what Eragon and Roran have been going through in this book to like level up. I'm really excited to see what this battle is and like what they're both up to during it.
Yeah, I can't wait to actually get to like, and also this will be, if we are going to Feinster, this will be like the first time we take a city, which I'm kind of excited to see.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of
urban warfare.
Yes, and we've had this whole book of Eragon like sucking with various weapons and complaining about them. So I'm just happy to be able to hopefully read a fight scene where he doesn't.
Yes, I think the Imperial troops fucked around when Eragon had a staff, and they are about to find out now that he has a sword. I'm pretty excited about it.
That's the note we need to leave on. Thank you for listening. Make sure to rate and review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Support on Patreon, and check out our social media at Is This Just Fantasy Pod on TikTok or at Just Fantasy Pod on Instagram. If you have any questions or just want to write us about swords, we'd love to hear from you, and you can email us at isthisjustfantasypod@gmail.com.
Yes, please send us an email and describe your ideal sword and dragon, I think. Bonus points if you do both. We like overachievers. If to keep pace and read along with us, on the next episode, we're going to be covering chapter 54, Leave Taking, through the end of Brisingr.
We're just two nerds and we love our fantasy. Come on and listen to us next time. Find out what our deep dive will be.